Stop using vinegar and baking soda. You are washing your fruit and vegetables in water. People love the fuzzy chemical effect. That is just for show. That is not actually cleaning anything. For berries, if you wash them in salt water for 5 minutes, strain them, kind of agitate them. Salt is a great abrasive and a great pH. And then put them in hot water for 30 seconds. Like I'm talking boiling water. Berries like hot. Think about when they grow. It's in the summer. So they can stand really, really high heat, even though they have delicate skins. Kills all the mold spores or anything else that could be left on them. They will last up to 2 to 3 weeks in your fridge if your kids don't eat all of them before that.
Welcome back to another episode of the Clean Kitchen Podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest. She's a powerhouse of home economics, the queen of practical tips, and a true inspiration for anyone looking to master the art of household management. You know her from her incredible content on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and her brand new podcast, The Home CEO. Nicole Jaques, welcome to the Clean Kitchen Podcast.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, Kevin. I'm so happy to be here.
We're excited. So I want to start with being the CEO of your home to begin with. Like, where did that concept come from? Like, what does that mean?
This is a good question. So when I left my big corporate job to be a stay-at-home mom 9 years ago, I struggled going out to dinners with my husband and business meetings, and people were like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "I'm a stay-at-home mom." And I was like super proud. And everyone was like, "Oh." Or they would say other things like, "Oh, that's that's God's work." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It was just not well received by everybody. I even had people tell me, a few people be like, "Well, you have a bigger brain than just to be a stay-at-home mom." And it was like kind of shocking for me. Mm-hmm. So I told my husband, this is making me feel insecure. And I don't do insecure ever. And so I said, I'm just hear me out. So we went to another meeting. Someone was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a CEO." And they're like, "You? Wow. Oh, you are?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Of what company?" Like, I didn't even know. And I was like, "Of my family, of the home, of the Jaques family." Like, it was like a non-negotiable to me to make it empowering to be a stay-at-home mom. But unfortunately, in our society, we needed a term change. And so 9 years ago, the home CEO was born. It just didn't get brought to fruition until a few months ago.
I love that. I think that's one of the best stories behind the name behind like an account, because a stay-at-home mom it just does not give enough credit to how much work goes into it. Our mom was a quote unquote stay-at-home mom. She was the CEO of our home. We had 4 kids. It was nonstop. She was going all the time. So much work goes into it. So I love the rebranding here to the home CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I've also heard you describe yourself as a walking modern home economics class. I think that's the perfect description for what you do. People out there love the content that you create, especially on Instagram. That home ec basic skill set, I don't feel like it's taught much anymore. Do you feel like it's somewhat of a lost art?
It's definitely a lost art, and it also causes a lot of anxiety and stress in society and in homeowners and homemakers. We don't have any coursework or anything to kind of prep us for everything that goes into it. So it's kind of trial by error for the majority. And that leads to a lot of guilt, mom guilt. It leads to a lot of, am I doing this right? And again, back to insecurity. And I was like, this doesn't have to be like this. We just need it easy, accessible, digestible. And so that's kind of how my platform came to be. And I think that's why there is a sticky element. It's more modern now because I use less toxins, and I'm teaching you and empowering you to just make it yourself, which, by the way, my grandmother did. But back then she had courses, and we just have let go of that trade. We need to bring it back because it's really important for people to feel confident owning the home, making the home, being the mom, being the stay-at-home parent. I just think it's important for the next generation.
Yeah. I know you mentioned your mom and your grandma were a big influence and a big inspiration to you. Where did all of these tips and kitchen hacks come from? Did it come from them, or did you just learn it along the way?
Okay, so I grew up with a Southern grandmother. Her name was Ruth. Everybody has a Grandma Ruth, I swear. And she was like if you can eat it, you can fry it. Okay.
Mhm.
She had a fryer built into her kitchen when they retired.
Oh,
Like,
gosh.
I know it was a legit kitchen, but she had a harder time with her upbringing, learning how to say, like, I love you and showing affection in other ways and emotions. So she put it into her food. So when you would take a bite of her fried chicken and biscuits or hush puppies, you were like, this is pure love. And she was a baker. So I have pictures of me standing there, like in an apron that says like grandma's sous chef and like making meatballs with her. She taught me how to make just basic homegrown good food. And then my mother was like, I want to throw a dinner party. She was like this New York, socialite, because I grew up back east and then we moved to Sonoma. So that was a whole nother bit. And so I kind of grew up with a blend of someone who was like just good Southern cooking blended with like the OG Pinterest mom before Pinterest was a thing. And I'm a blend of that. Like I'm a Pam Ruth. Like I'm both of them. I'm Ruth and I'm Pam. But I'm also, because I have an autoimmune and because of some of my journey, I've adapted some of their recipes or their tips to things that I need for my modern day life. And so that's kind of how I came to be.
Yeah. It's the perfect combo. You got the food, the soul food with all the flavor, with kind of the knowing how to host and the tips and tricks there that you got from your mom as well. Perfect combo there. But I guess you mentioned the home CEO. The concept of it started 9 years ago, but your actual social media presence, I think, started September of 2021. So less than 3 years, you started this journey as the beginning of an influencer. Less than 3 years later, could you ever imagined how much traction your content has gained, how many followers you have, this whole journey that you've been on?
First of all, I love that you stalked all the way back to the date. Okay.
Yes, had to.
Can we just start with like the diligence of that? High five, Kevin. I could never have imagined. So I started this. Two friends were like, we went on a beach vacation and they were like, why are you cleaning the cast iron with half of a potato and salt? And I was looking at them like, isn't this how you clean your cast iron? They're like, we clean it with Dawn. I was like, that is sacrilege. Like you cannot, what are you doing? Like, no wonder, and these were women that cooked. So after that trip and a few others with girlfriends, they were like, can you please start sharing your weirdness online? And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. This is a cool thing. I don't know. We'll see. I thought maybe we'd have a group of 8,000. It'd be like this tight, close knit, just, a mom fumbling around with her iPhone, taking silly videos. I was just like, I'll give it a shot. Let's give it 30 days and see where it goes. And then 30 led to 60, led to 90. And then it was rolling so fast that I was like, oh, I guess you're right. Everyone likes my weirdness. And apparently people don't know these things and why. Like I then started looking at it from an educational standpoint. And so I get to do this job. I feel grateful every day. And I think looking at the community and how it's grown is just another way of realizing the benefits of social media, the light side of social media, rather than the dark parts. And that we can provide education and knowledge to people worldwide. And so, no, I never could have imagined. I don't think anybody did. But I feel very grateful. It is where it is.
So Kevin and I, you may not know this, or you may know this about me, but I was diagnosed with Crohn's in 2018. Kevin was diagnosed a few years before me. So Kevin also has Crohn's. You mentioned you also have autoimmune problems. You want to talk a little bit about that and how that kind of changed, one, I guess your content, but also just changed your life?
So my content started out as a handle called The Bored Housewife PDX. So it was actually a charcuterie account, and my town lacks having a good charcuterist. And I was like, maybe I'll start a brick and mortar, and quickly pivoted because it would mean less time with my kids in the home. So it was like a lot of cheese and a lot of cured meats. Now, if you look at the progression, it has completely flipped. But the one thing that's always been core to it was kitchen hacks and tips. That never was not a part of the handle. So I started just kind of using it more as a vlog to show people what I was going through. So I was in Palm Springs on a vacation with my husband, meaning no kids. So I'm not eating fast, I'm chewing normal, and I choked. And from that choking incident in the emergency room, the food bolus was stuck in my throat for 12 hours until they scoped it into my stomach. And they left me with a ton of medication on a flight back home to Portland, not knowing what was wrong with me, except that I had an autoimmune called EOE, eosinophilic esophagitis. And I was like, excuse me. So it was kind of like really rocked my world. A, to have a brush with the other side, but B, also to know like I have a big health journey ahead of me now. And this was in the middle of my platform growing. So it was a unique time for me. But I always think things happen and sharing them with others is what brings a community together. And so I just got real vulnerable and started talking about it and pivoting and sharing what I was learning and my journey through the medical world. And unbelievable how many people have a similar journey to all of us, all three of us, and how a diagnosis can really change your life to kind of wake you up. So I've been medication free now over a year. I manage it just with mind work, breath work, diet, and exercise. And that sounds like, oh gosh, there's so many changes that needed to be had, but every one of them has brought a higher vibration, more joy, more full life. I don't view myself as restricted. I just view myself as special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's amazing how many people we've talked to where they've had this Pandora's box moment where once you start researching all of these ingredients and the chemicals that might be in some of the cleaners that you use, you cannot go back. But before we go deeper on that, you mentioned the charcuterie boards. For those listening, these aren't your average charcuterie boards, Nicole. You underplayed it a little bit here. These are like next level advanced charcuterie boards. I think I saw a flower that was an avocado. I didn't even know that was possible until I started scrolling back. So if you have time, go scroll through Nicole's beginning photos. They are advanced level charcuterie there to start with.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yes.
And it's an art, right? Like you make them and I'm like, oh, this is an art. And there's some therapy to it as well. Mm-hmm. And then people always say like, oh, it looks too pretty to eat. I'm like, that's nice. That's how you want to eat a cake. That's how you want to eat a lot of things. You want it to be plated. I call it food styling. So it is like my back pocket side gig. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. Okay. But getting back to the chemicals in this Pandora's box moment. So you have this autoimmune disease, you're diagnosed with this. What were kind of the first steps that you started to make changes in your own home once you had this new information?
So we were already low tox chemically in cleaners just because I became a mom and was like, okay, hold on, hard stop. Like, I don't want this around my children. So my cleaners were always low tox. It was my diet that had to be cleaned. So I started doing what Kyle does, is flipping things over constantly. Grocery shopping used to take an hour. It was taking me 3. But I had to learn the background of why, first of all, why are companies doing this? Second of all, what companies can be trusted? I would find a brand and be like, oh, this is great. And I'd go pick up another thing and I'd get home and I'd flip it over and be like, this one has something else in it I don't want. So I was also going through the elimination diet. So I was taking things out of my diet and implementing them back in and then having endoscopies to see if it was raising my white cell count. So it was a lot. I think in a year I had 7 scopes. Wow. And so it was just trial and error. And I really realized that there were some supplements and methylation things that were going on, and that helped. It was a journey. It was a windy road. But I think now, because I do have it under control and we've not had a flare up, one of the biggest things that yielded the highest result was not drinking alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you still stick to now?
I do. Yeah. And I call myself sober forward because the majority of my year, I'm not going to drink. But if I do take a sip of somebody's, instantly my voice starts to go away.
Mm. It's amazing. Yeah. How much alcohol, it's part of society. I feel like it is tough. Even at social gatherings, do you feel like there's pressure for you to have a glass of wine or something while you're there?
Oh, I used to, but now I realize it's their relationship with alcohol, not mine. My relationship is threatening to them. And it's opened up so many doors. So many of my friends now are sober because they watched me go through it and just watched, I think, the joy and the full scope color that kind of came back into my life and a healthier lifestyle. And they were like, I want to do that too. So there's been some pros and cons. The social aspect, really, I shed pretty fast. I just started telling people, they're like, oh, do you have a problem with it? I was like, do you have a problem with mayonnaise? You didn't put it on your burger.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with mayonnaise? Oh, you just don't like it? Oh, okay, me too, right? It was one of those. So I started saying like, I have an allergy to it, which really essentially I do if it causes that much inflammation in my body so fast. So I had to learn some, I'm not drinking right now. I have some like taglines that I used. The social aspect faded pretty fast. And then a lot of my group was like, I want to do it too. How'd you do it? And that to me was so empowering to see that I had made a change and other people were inspired by it, led me to say, I'm going to start talking about it on my platform. I'm going to start talking about it to more people. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Alcohol is one of the few things I feel like where people know it's not good for you. It's literally a poison or toxin. But if you're not drinking, it's like, what's wrong with you? Like, oh, you used to be an alcoholic or like something crazy. I've had probably half a glass of wine this entire year. And you're right. Like in the beginning, at least for me, I was like, it was a little bit weird in social settings having to say no. But then over time, it's just like, oh no, like, I'm just like, no, alcohol makes me feel terrible. And then end of story. Like they give up. So.
I always say I've never regretted not drinking, but I've sure regretted drinking.
Facts. Need that on a t-shirt.
Right?
Wait, so going back to your autoimmune disease, you said EOE?
Yeah, eosinophilic esophagitis.
What is it? Is it inflammation of the esophagus? Yeah.
Yep,
basically.
you got it.
And then like, what are the symptoms?
Choking
on your food.
Choking on your food. So a lot of it, people think it's like acid reflux.
Yeah.
And they kind of have that like burning sensation. And then it just kind of lingers and continues and continues. And then sometimes you get a raspy voice and you just think, oh, I'm losing my voice. I don't know. But all of those are signs that you're probably pretty close to having a food bolus stuck in your throat because all that inflammation makes your esophagus very rigid. And you choke. And I loved it because so many doctors were like, well, you don't fit the build. Like usually it's a man overweight, they're eating steak. I'm like, okay, I don't care if I don't fit the patient profile for EOE. I choked on a salad, so that fits my profile. So let's talk about that. Like I don't have to be a certain patient to have a disorder or an autoimmune. I did end up going down to Stanford, and that was the doctor who kind of hit the nail on the head and set me on the right course. And I cried the last day I was taking antacids because they're not good for a lot of other things. And I was so desperate to get off medication. So
yeah,
it was a lot.
It is, yeah. And it is tough, especially it feels like with how much we're exposed to that it does induce some of these autoimmune diseases. I firmly believe that Crohn's came as a result of what we were exposed to as kids. Not anyone's fault. It's just the way the world works, unfortunately. But you've mentioned that you've been able to cleanse not only your house in terms of the food, but also the cleaning products. Talk to us some more about the cleaning products that you use. What are your top tips and tricks for people that are just getting started in this journey?
Go one thing at a time. So my number one tip is detoxing or low toxing your home is incredibly overwhelming because everywhere you're going to look, you're going to find an ingredient in a bottle you should not be using. And the most commonly used ingredient that is toxic is fragrance, which, is in everything. And it's just a hidden labeler. So for me, I was like, I don't know how others do this. My friend went through it and I walked her through it. And so number one is one bottle at a time. When you finish your laundry detergent, replace it with a homemade version or a clean version. And then number two is know that most household products can be used to clean your home. And there are things that we don't think clean, like the sun or heat. These are things we don't think like, oh, that's a great cleaning agent, but we do it all the time. How do you clean your dishes if you're going to scrub them? With soap and frigid cold water? No, hot water, right? Yeah. So using steam or hot water to help accelerate baking soda and Castile soap can get out all the mold and all of these things from shower, grout, natural stone. I did learn a lot of my cleaning tips from my grandma, because she was the ultimate home CEO and did a lot of things on her own. And back then they didn't have anything but like Fel's Napa bars. There was just nothing like what we have now. The market is so oversaturated.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been dabbling in that since we had children, just because I wanted cleaner ingredients around the babies, and laundry detergent was like number one. But my best tip is one thing at a time.
Yeah.
That's the same thing I say for food too. Once you finish something, then make the swap. Don't try to do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, how do you use the sun to clean? What do you do that?
I do. So it's a bleaching agent, but it's a really good drying agent, right? So like after I've washed my pillows in the washing machine, which you can totally do, you can't dry them in the dryer, but you can go put them outside and it'll bleach them further. Like a natural bleach. It's nature's bleach. So it'll lighten and whiten, and then it will refresh. That heat also helps kill like little mites and any little bacteria that could be left in there. So especially in the summer, I'm using the sun a lot. A lot of people are like, oh, but the allergens outside. I'm like, it's really nothing compared to what the sun can do for your pillow. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like accidentally figured that out, that the sun is a bleaching agent, because I washed my shoes and then I was like, oh, I need to let them dry. So I put them out on my balcony. And then I came back a few hours later. I was like, whoa, these are really white. So I'm trying that with the pillows too.
Yeah, it's a good one. The sun is a good one.
Yeah. The other one I've heard you talk about too is oven racks in the grass on a dewy morning. Can you tell us about that one?
So my grandma used to do this in like her slippers and bathrobe. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is so weird. What are we doing? And she was like, girl, this is how we clean the racks. And I was like, oh, okay. So I would go home and I was like, Mom, put the oven racks out there. And she's like, no, I'm going to scrub them with all the chemicals, balance. I had that in my life. But during the spring is the best time to do this after holidays and kind of winter cooking. The dew and the temperature change in the spring is prime to make that grease and sticky stuff on your oven racks detach. And it's basically like you've soaked them. But outside, because the temperature changes overnight, it will literally scrape off your racks. So I just lay them outside for one night, and the dewy grass in the morning, I go pick them up, bring them in, and I don't even need soap, to be honest. I just need a good sponge, and they're clean.
Wow.
It's kind of weird, but it works.
It's using nature, I guess, in such a unique way. But I guess my question, how did your grandma find out about all these? What's the original source of some of these home hacks?
I wish I knew. She was a young kind of like bride, and I think she just kind of learned things organically on her own, kind of like Kyle with his shoes, where it was like, oh, I just put them outside and now they're white. She would just try strange things, curious cat, just like myself, and they would either work or they wouldn't. Or maybe her neighbor told her. I wish she was still around so I could ask, but I just didn't even question Grandma.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, Grandma, whatever you say, I'll go do,
Yeah. It worked.
Yeah.
Obviously it worked. Yes.
Yeah, she knows.
Yeah. The other area too, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like every sixth video on Instagram is someone showing how many it looks like bugs are in their fruits after they buy them from the grocery store. Do you have a good way that you use of washing fruit after you purchase it from a grocery store or farmer's market?
I do. So it's different for every fruit and every vegetable, because like grapes have a waxy substance on them where like blueberries do not. So everything is a little different. But my best go-to is stop using vinegar and baking soda. You are washing your fruit and vegetables in water. People love the fuzzy chemical effect. That is just for show. Okay. That is not actually cleaning anything. They cancel out each other. So this is scientific, which I love. It's like the baker in me. I can't get enough of it. So like for berries, if you wash them in salt water for 5 minutes, just regular water, strain them, kind of agitate them. Salt is a great abrasive and a great pH. Then you strain them and then put them in hot water for 30 seconds. Like I'm talking boiling water. Berries like hot. Think about when they grow and really come to fruition. It's in the summer. So they can stand really, really high heat, even though they have delicate skins. So I take the berries, I blanch them basically 30 seconds in hot water, and it kills all the mold spores or anything else that could be left on them. They will last up to 2 to 3 weeks in your fridge if your kids don't eat all of them before that. And anything else, I usually use a baking soda and water or salt and water, and that's really all you need.
Mm.
It's not complicated. It's not overly fussy. You just have to be diligent with what you've got, and you start thinking about things that are different pHs in your house and use water as your base.
Yeah. Yeah.
Washing fruits and vegetables is always, I normally just run it under tap water. And then I'm like, is this even doing anything? Because first of all, the tap water is disgusting. So I'm like, am I literally just putting all these pesticides and herbicides and pharmaceuticals and all this other stuff just on my fruit? So you're saying put it in a bowl with salt and water, and then for like what, 5 minutes or so?
Salt and water is like usually 5 minutes, any fruit
Okay.
or vegetable, yes.
And then instantly into the hot water for 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay.
For berries specifically, because if you wash them in vinegar, their thin skins absorb the vinegar.
Yeah.
So people are like, I use the vinegar in the water. And I'm like, ugh, how'd that taste? Like with grapes, if you wanted to use vinegar, you can. Vinegar is a great cleaning agent for a lot of things. I just don't use it on my produce. It's not a need. And you can use salt and baking soda, which are more abrasive, so it scrubs off even more. Vinegar is not going to kill and scrape off all of that from your fruit or your vegetables. The other tip that everybody needs to know is use your salad spinner to dry your produce. Like wash it in your salad spinner, fill it up with water, wash it in the salad spinner, spin it around, it agitates it, and then strain it and then dry it in the salad spinner. People use their salad spinner the wrong way, but I use it to dry my berries. I use it to dry lettuce. There's so many ways to use that salad spinner. I'm telling you, it's like one of the best kitchen appliances ever.
Yeah. That's a great hack. I never think to do that.
I need to buy a salad spinner.
I have a link.
List.
There you go.
Perfect. So those are some cleaning tips there for berries and other fruits and vegetables. And you mentioned a lot of the cleaning products you use around the house are ones that you've created, ones that you've come up with. So you have control over the ingredients. Are there any areas of cleaning or anything in the house where you do find it more beneficial to use a store-bought product that you can rely on?
No.
You make everything.
I make everything.
Yeah.
I have an ebook now. It's called Go Green When You Clean. And it's like 60 recipes of how to do it at home. And it is everything from like laundry and stain removers to grout cleaners to DIY sprays to pest repellents. I mean, I just do it all myself. People think, oh, you must have so many products in your kitchen cabinets and think. And in fact, no, I have about 5 bottles and that's all I need. And I buy big bags of baking soda or washing soda and I just make it as I go. It's not really that intimidating. Once you break it all down, it's less space than all these cleaners under cabinets and things. So I highly recommend the method. Just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are some of the main ingredients in like laundry detergent or, different cleaners and stuff?
So Castile soap is a base for almost the majority of everything. Castile soap is one of those that's just almost a guarantee. In addition to that, washing soda. Washing soda is a wonderful cleaning agent. Oxygen Boost, whitening oxygen boost, like Branch B6, but they actually have a very similar one at Whole Foods. That's half the price and it's the same ingredients. So that's great. It's clean. And then in addition, you want distilled white vinegar. That is really one of those that cleans so many things. Baking soda to make scrubs, to get things clean. And then when you get into like making your own hand soap and things like that, it gets a little bit more complicated with essential oils and jojoba oil and things like that, coconut oil. But essentially, it's a lot of things that are in your home.
Yeah. And the Castile soap, that's just like Dr. Bronner's, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I love them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
Okay, so we've simplified how much it is to clean. I think that's a lot of the issue for people, myself included. It feels overwhelming to make all these changes. Oh, I have to make this from scratch. But it sounds like if you really dive into it, there's only a few ingredients that you need. You've already got the ebook there ready for people. I think on the ebook too, it said it's actually you save over $1,000 once you start comparing these ingredients that you're using to the actual standard chemicals that you have to buy from the store. You're actually saving money at the end of the day, which is great. But specific to, I guess, new moms, you mentioned you're a mom of 2. What are some areas that new moms should be on the lookout for? There are so many baby products out there. Are there any kind of tips and tricks that you have for those new moms out there?
Yeah. So first of all, you're doing great. Let's just start with like, you are a new mom and you are doing the very best, and your very best is enough. So let's just start right there, because that is really going to give you the empowerment you need, once you firmly believe that, to go and flip over labels. I, as a mom, made a lot of things my own. I did use diapers because cloth diapers were a no-go for our family and how we function. Do things that work for you, right? But at the same time, a lot of baby products are confusing. They are targeting you to be a new mom that thinks you know nothing, which is not true. You birthed that baby. Let's talk about how well you know that baby. And they want to continue to give you options to just overcomplicate your life. So find 2 to 3 brands you know that you can trust and just go with those. And that's probably my best tip. And stop using baby powder. If there's one thing you should never use on your child, it's baby powder. Put it away. Don't look at it. Don't buy it. That is not a need. Look for clean ingredients. The more simple, same in food. The more simple, the better the product. And ask your friends. Talk to your friends about what they're using. When it comes to laundry detergents, I did not use anything. There are so many that smell so good. And all I could start smelling was the toxins that were in them. I was like, wow, this smells so delicious. How awful. Like, my baby should smell like a baby, right? Your baby should just smell like a baby. It doesn't need perfume on its clothes. Or baby lotion that's scented. Yeah. So I used a lot of coconut oil on my kids, and I only washed their clothes in baking soda and water. That's all you needed. Even the messiest messes, hydrogen peroxide, a little baking soda, a little Castile soap will get out the stain, and then just wash it in baking soda and water. Those are some of my best, like, tried and true go-to tips.
Yeah.
Why is baby powder so bad? Is it irritating?
It's respiratory, right? It's your ingredients. There has been lawsuits on talc and other things that are in it, but you have to think about how you apply it to your baby. They're on their back and you squirt it into like their diaper area. And where do all of that, where does that powder go? It doesn't just stay right there. It's not a cream. It goes straight into what they're breathing. And then now it's in their lungs. And there's no other way to really do this. Once it's in the air, it's in the air. So don't use powders. They're not needed for babies.
Interesting. Yeah. And do you use any essential oils or anything for your laundry detergent? Yeah, you do.
I do. I use peppermint Castile soap because I love the peppermint scent. I like it really clean. I use it on my dryer balls, my wool dryer balls as well. And that, I think, helps with a little bit of static, but it also makes your clothes smell good. So many people are like, oh, but my clothes don't smell good and my teens don't like it. And I'm like, well, your teens will thank you, and there's no fertility issues.
Boom.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Right. When they're ready to give you grandbabies, like, they won't hopefully have issues. So I think there's so much of just understanding that clean smells like nothing.
Yeah.
Clean smells like nothing.
Yeah. We had the CEO of Truly Free, which is another laundry detergent company, out a couple weeks ago on the podcast. And he was talking about this whole marketing initiative back, I think it was 90s, early 2000s, from these detergent companies that designed their products around smell, purely around smell, not necessarily even around cleaning the products. And it was amazing to hear that, which, I mean, it aligns perfectly with what you're saying here. The other area of smell that I'm thinking about is candles. And candles are another area that we've talked about a little bit, but curious on your approach to getting the home to smell nice, or that warm spring feeling that people so desire with candles.
Okay, so don't use candles. First of all, the amount of homes that burn because a candle was left unattended is ridiculous. Like, let's use common sense. 1, 2, we don't need the candle. Okay, there's plenty of electric candles that do the same flicker. If you really need the ambiance, turn on your fireplace. That's good too. My biggest thing with making my home smell good is using a simmer pot on my stove so I can simmer a bunch of spices and vanilla. One of my best tips is actually put a baking dish with some vanilla extract in it, and your whole house will smell like cookies the entire day. It is that easy. That's all you need. You just turn on your oven, 350, put it in there, let it heat up, kind of come to a boil in the dish, and like They're going to be like, where's the cookie? And you're going to be like, it's just my house. And then another thing I do like to use is essential oil, like room spray, which I feel good about. A diffuser is another option if you want to keep it kind of going. A cool mist diffuser on a countertop is great. There's so many ways to make your home smell good, but one of the best things I can tell you for my air in my home, which is commonly the most toxic thing in your house, unfortunately. So check your HVAC, okay? Make sure that you're using your filters correctly, but is to have house plants. Like my snake plant behind me, have house plants. It will clean out so many allergens itself and keep the home's air. You don't always need the fancy air filters going and running. Like plants are nature's air filter. So load up on plants. Plus they make you happy.
Are there specific plants that are better at filtering the air and the toxins than others? So snake plant is one.
Snake plant is probably the best. It's that and ferns. Ferns and snake plants are two of my favorite, and they stay in my home. There's a snake plant in every room in my house. Wow. And we don't suffer from allergies. And when I remove them from my kids' rooms and my husband's, everybody wakes up stuffy.
Wow. Are they easy to maintain, to take care of?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you don't need, they're not a cactus, okay? Like you do have to give them water. But snake plants are pretty hardy. And they're happy because they're breathing in what you're putting out there. And especially during spring, like they kind of come alive because it's their time to kind of filter allergens.
Got it. Yeah, that's been on my list of things to do, get a bunch of plants, but I didn't know which ones, but now I do. Snake plant.
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go.
Perfect place to start. All about simplifying. It seems like is the common theme here, as well as using what nature gives you, whether it's the sun, whether it's the dew on the lawn, plants, surrounding yourself with some of that is amazing. I love all the tips. The other area I do want to dive into as well, Nicole, with you, is you started out as the CEO of your home 9 years ago and running the house, but now you've also become the CEO of your company. What is it like to balance those two? How do you do that? What's your mindset, your approach to that?
That balance is something that doesn't exist.
Elaborate.
In all honesty, yes. In all honesty, so many people are chasing that everything feels even keel and like it's on a scale and it's equally balanced, but nothing in life is equal and nothing is going to stay consistent. And so as humans, although we crave that for whatever reason, it's not tangible. And having a family and having a relationship and creating a hobby and running a business and folding all your laundry. Like that's just not real life. So my things that I do that make me feel really good and raise my vibration is I stick to 3 things I do every day for myself. They're not business oriented. They're not marriage oriented. They're not kid oriented. They're not house oriented. They are Nicole oriented. And I make them very simple. This isn't like paint my nails, okay? Like it is, that doesn't really do much anyway, to be frank with you. But for me, it's waking up and having 5 minutes of mindset work. So that is like sacred time to me. I don't call these things, by the way, routines. I call them rituals. They're things that are part of my daily life. And then I drink my 3 amigos, which are my peppermint tea, my bone broth, and my lemon water first thing in the morning. So I am like flush and ready to go with everything I need for my body. And then my third one is always a wild card. I get to kind of choose what I think my body needs for that week or that day because my body needs something different every day. It doesn't need the same thing every single day. So it can be anything from like taking my supplements. It can be anything to eating or trying a new food or fruit. It can be taking a bath or using my sauna or my cold plunge. But everything is under 10 minutes.
Simplify. How did you come up with that routine? What got you there?
I was stressed, burned out with an autoimmune, and I didn't know what else to do. And I knew that my self-confidence was low because I just didn't feel great about myself, which we all go through. That is a very human ebb and flow. And I realized that the one thing that can raise your confidence is when you make a commitment to yourself that you see it through. So set your expectations correct, right? Make sure that you can actually accomplish your to-do list. Don't set it too big. Don't overshoot. Just make it tangible. And once you complete those 3 things for yourself, watch your confidence soar.
I love that. It's like the make your bed every morning kind of idea, where it's not the most difficult thing in the world. It's not going to change your life, or maybe it will. Maybe it might just change your life because you start the morning with accomplishing something, and it gets the ball rolling a little bit in terms of other areas that you can start working on. So I love and I said routine before, ritual. I love the rituals that you've created.
I will tell you though that once you get started, it is just something that that high vibration, once you check it off your list, is so good. You won't go a day without doing it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I think it's creating that healthy habit to just make it into something that is very sacred just to you, especially being a home CEO, wife, mom, all the things. I will also say that my to-do list every morning is wake up. So the minute I wake up, I'm like, check, I did that today.
Crushed it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
And you gotta take care of yourself before you gotta juggle all these other things that you have to do throughout the day. So yes, very important to take care of yourself.
Yeah. All right. I think we've got some lightning round questions here for you, Nicole, to kind of close out. So we're going to work through these quickly. I think there's 5 here that we'll go through with you.
Cool.
All right.
Let's do it.
I heard you talk about this before. I need to know, what is your favorite way to use a potato as a cleaning tool?
To defog glass or mirrors.
Okay.
Explain that a little bit more, because I've never seen this.
Okay. This is my weirdness that I love and embrace. Okay, so glass and mirrors are not flush. They are rigid. Like if you put them under a microscope. So the starch of the potato actually adheres and makes them flush. And it has a defogger agent. It's very sticky substance. So when you go and you wipe off the starch from it, like go do it. You can't fog your mirror. I also use it on my car mirrors outside.
Just the potato.
Yeah.
Half
Nothing
of a
on it.
potato.
Okay.
Just
the
half
inside
a potato.
of the potato.
Yeah, cut it in half.
I was thinking I was
Okay.
thinking you're rubbing the
I wanted
outside.
to see Kyle. I wanted to see Kyle do that. So cut the potato in half, let me clarify, and use the open end of the potato so you get the starch out of it.
Got it.
Awesome. We're going to have to try that one. All right. Your favorite non-toxic cleaning hack, just anything that you love to do.
My non-toxic cleaning scrub is by far and wide the most versatile thing you can make. It's Castile soap, half baking soda. You mix it up and it will scrub anything and everything and leave it so sparkling clean. You're going to be shocked that that's all it took.
Yeah. I love that one. I've seen you use that one. It's amazing how effective it is.
Yeah, it's
All right.
great.
We talked about new moms, but again, favorite cleaning tip for new moms. What's your go-to?
So my best cleaning tip is stain remover because kids are full. If you have kids, you have stains like everywhere on everything. And you're like, what the heck? I'm never going to be able to afford this child, but you will. So grab a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, just the standard bottle of it at the drugstore, and put in a tablespoon of Castile soap and a tablespoon of baking soda, shake it up and use it. There's a little sprayer on Amazon you can buy for the bottles and you just spray it on it, let it set for like 15 minutes and then wash it. And you're going to be like, how did that just take cherry out of my kid's onesie? You're welcome.
I love that.
Okay.
All right. This was a fun one. Favorite moment as a content creator so far?
Okay. So, oh gosh, damn. That's really, I have so many. I really truly have so many. I will tell you though, that when I was in Paris with my mom and I had 2 girls run over to me, then they were like, we follow you. We follow you. And my mom looked at me like, what the heck? Like, I just thought you posted like random videos on Instagram and now we're in Paris and people recognize you. The coolest part for me is that it reaches that far, right? The community is not just in my immediate, the community is all around the world. And I'm not really one to be like, I'm an influencer. I'm like, I'm an impactor. And so to feel the impact and the joy that I bring to these people, and they were telling me and we were hugging in Paris, was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm an impactor. I'm going to start saying that. What do you do? Oh, I'm an impactor.
I love that.
That's good.
All right. Last one in the lightning round. What is the best place to start for someone that wants to become the CEO of their home?
Recognizing that you already are. Just understanding that that is your title and starting to own it, you will come into it. It's just like when you get a promotion at a job, right? You're like, oh, I got this promotion. Like now I need to like live up to the standard of those responsibilities. Knowing that you are fully capable of doing it because you already are one is the basis of success.
Love that.
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
perfect.
Nicole, if people want to learn more about you, your Instagram, your podcast, where do you want them to go?
Okay, you can find me at my blog, Nicole Jaques. Jaques is spelled JAQUES.com. Thanks, husband. That's a doozy of a name. I appreciate you. And then you can find me on any social media, Pinterest, TikTok. Instagram is my main community. I show up there daily. It's Nicole Jaques. And the podcast is called The Home CEO. We've just launched, and we are just talking to every expert out there that can help you with every nook and cranny of just owning your new title as the home CEO.
Absolutely love that. I thought it was Jaques. It's Jaques.
Yeah, like she bakes cakes. Jaques.
Got it.
Jaques.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I actually thought it was Jaques or something like that.
Oh,
But
trust me. Listen, I went from Schlossberg to Jaques, so I'm going to take Jaques.
Yeah.
I can figure that one out. Okay, guys?
Yeah.
Schlossberg was a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Nicole. We appreciate you so much.
I loved being here. You guys are the best.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.